Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is September 7th, 2025, and Hansi Flick blocked Jofre Torrents from joining his teammates at Barca Atletic. Also, Arda Guler and Turkey getting humiliated at the hands of Lamine Yamal in Spain. And finally, Gavi will undergo a key medical exam tomorrow. And we have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is usually on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting a discussion going live. And you might say, Mo, what are you talking about? Podcasts are on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today is neither Monday nor Wednesday nor Friday. Today is Sunday. I know, but since Friday I was working late, I wasn't able to do a podcast. Instead, I did 2 news videos. I decided, you know what? Let's do Friday's podcast today. Now, when I mean Friday's podcast today, I don't mean we're going to discuss news from Friday. That's not the case. We're going to discuss news from today. But I decided that instead of doing news videos, I said, you know what? Let's do the podcast since I do owe it to you guys. I owe you a podcast since Friday I didn't do one. Anyways, having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Get Back, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you head to Bet Us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news. It's starting with good news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barca Atletic are off to a good start because today was their first official match of the season as Giuliano Belletti's guys, men, boys, some of them are underage, so I don't know what to call them. But as Giuliano Belletti's team will try to, of course, get promoted back from fourth back to third division. And today, Barca Atletic won 2-0 against UE Porreres. Again, 2-0 by goals from Victor Barbera and also Tony Fernandez. Because as you might recall, even though Tony, Guille, Dro, and Jofre were all exclusively training with the first team, Flick was like, you know what? You guys can go back down, play with Barca Athletic during this FIFA international break since, most of the first team is gone on international duty. And that way these players can continue, getting minutes, stay in competitive rhythm, etc., etc. And now let's look at Tony Fernandez's goal because I thought he scored a pretty cool goal. Let's see. Hold on. Something else started playing that wasn't supposed to be playing. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen so we can all watch Tony Fernandez's goal. Let's share this. Voila. We'll do this like this. And bam. All right, let's check out Tony Fernandez's goal. Barca Athletic were up 1-0 against UE Porreres. It was the 93rd minute, so it was almost done. And here, if you can see my mouse, my cursor. Can you see my cursor? I'm not sure if you can. Hold on. Let me see if you can my cursor. Anyways, there is Tony Fernandez at the bottom of the left bottom of the screen. And this is how his goal went. We're going to take the sound off for copyrights. But he steals the ball here. Gives a pass, makes the run, gets the ball back, and bam. Check out that goal. Very difficult angle, by the way. Very difficult angle. And check this out. He has one defender sliding, the other one sliding to block the near post. The goalkeeper is blocking the near post. The other defender is trying to do some coverage for the second post. And still, in this tight space, Tony Fernandez is able to not only get the shot out, but he's able to get it in the corner to the far post despite having this triangle trying to block him. Incredibly difficult shot, but nonetheless, he still is able to get it. Both defenders on the floor, goalkeeper on the floor. And let's not forget, this all started thanks to his efforts, thanks to his high press. I mean, it's the 93rd minute. You're up 1-0. The match is almost over. He could have been like, whatever. But no, instead, he makes the effort, steals the ball, and he creates the whole play by himself, giving that pass. Again, getting the pass back, and then bam. Beautiful goal by Tony Fernandez. Again, Barca Athletic 2. UI Porreres 0. Great start to the season for Giuliano Belletti's men. Now, let's return to the news because, well, we have more good news because, ladies and gentlemen, today was a good day for Barcelona. Why? Oh, wait. Before we got to talk about Jofre Torrents. I almost forgot. This slide just reminded me. Now, as you know, these four guys have been training exclusively with the first team. Tony Enguille, Dro, and of course, Jofre Torrents, and Flick allowed him to go back down to Barca Atletic to play, except Jofre Torrents. The initial plan was for Jofre Torrents to play today with Barca Atletic so he can continue getting minutes during the FIFA international break. But instead, Hansi Flick decided to block that, and Jofre Torrents was not included today in Barca Athletic squad. Why? Well, as you know, Alejandro Balde is injured, will be out for 3 to 4 weeks, which means that Flick needs, Gerard Martin and Jofre Torrents. So this is a clear indicator that Flick will be counting on Jofre Torrents, especially now during Balde's injury, because he blocked them from playing with Barca Athletic. In other words, he's like, I don't want any risks. I count on you. So no playing with Barca Athletic, but you have Tony, Guille, and Dro all participating with Barca Athletic. Now, let's move on to the next good news. The first good news is, of course, Barca Athletic winning 2-0. But the other good news is the Barcelona Femeni today going back to their usual stuff that they do, which is absolutely demolish teams, because today they beat Athletic Club de Bilbao 1-8. Yes, you heard that right. 1-8. 8 goals that the Barcelona Femeni scored against a Athletic Club de Bilbao's women's team in their own stadium at San Mamés. It looks like the women play at San Mamés. I don't know if they have their own stadium, but the match was at San Mamés. And I do want to share with you this other goal from Patri, because it was an absolute banger. It deserves to be shared. Now, let's look at Patri's goal, because this is an absolute banger. Let's watch here. There's Patri, gets the ball in the midfield, and boom! All the way from the midfield. What a shot. Look, she gets the pass here, takes 1, 2, 3 steps, and almost from the midfield line, just puts on one hell of a goal. This is absolute insanity for Barca's second goal. And the goalie's like, no, I got it. No, I don't. Beautiful goal by Patri. Again, 1-8 for Barca Femeni. So both Barcelona teams winning today. And then finally, more good news. Because check this out. These are today's pictures of the Spotify Camp Nou. And you might say, Mo, what am I looking at? Well, as you can see, they're installing the escalators. The escalators at the Spotify Camp Nou. By the way, before they didn't have escalators, or at least I don't remember. I just seen escalators. I've been to the Camp Nou a few times, and it was all either stairs or this crazy endless ramps to get to the top. But now they're installing escalators. And you might say, Mo, well, why do I care if they're installing escalators? Well, not only, finally, now you don't have to go through a million stairs. You can actually take the escalators. But that's not the main point. The main point is that it looks like, the construction is still ongoing, and they're putting the final touches. And this is, of course, good news because, well, Barcelona are trying to return this season. And usually escalators, it's one of the last things you install in a construction project. So if they're already putting the escalators, this is, of course, a good indicator that, well, we're almost there. Whether the stadium is going to be ready for the Valencia match, I highly doubt it. But nonetheless, Barcelona continue to making strides to get the stadium ready, so we'll be able to play there during this season. And remember, there will be 3 phases. Phase 1A, which will only be able to host 27,000 people. 1B, 45,000 people. That's the required phase for the Champions League. And finally, phase 1C, which will host 60,000 people, which is the entire two rings, the first two rings, because of course the third one is still being built. Once the third ring is built and the full stadium is ready, of course, it will be able to host 105,000 people. All right, let's start with the comment section. And then, of course, we are going to talk about the FIFA international break and Turkey. Arda Guler being humiliated at the hands of Spain. Lamine Yamal, Spain. Katana of Justice says, I hope Lamine come to Man City. What? Yeah, Lamine's not going anywhere. I'm sorry, my friend. Not the Gamer says, podcast on Sunday. Mo, my goat, how are you? Thoughts on Tenas to Villarreal and Jakubishvili being the main starting goalkeeper for Andorra? Who's Tenas? Do I know Tenas? Am I not thinking of Tenas? Am I blanking on who is Tenas? I don't know why, but it's not ringing a bell. But yes, as I said, the reason I'm doing the podcast on a Sunday is because I didn't do one on Friday. So this is to make up for Friday. And of course, tomorrow, your regularly scheduled podcast on Mondays. As far as Jakubishvili, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's why he went on loan. And it's good. It's good because, of course, he'll get those minutes that he needs in second division versus being Barca Atletic in fourth division. And then, once he gets his minutes, we'll see, is he good enough to stay? Can he fight with Cochin for being third keeper in the first team? Or can we sell him, right? So it's good. It's good. I like seeing this. If you're going to send players on loan, I like it when I see him getting minutes because, after all, that's the whole point of sending a player on loan is for them to get minutes. Let's see. New Day says, my name is Mo. It's Mo. Super Ice says, hey, man, do you think Barca should play something like Spain? I think Spain is playing like Barca, so no. I mean, they already do. Raul says, Bo, the clowns who hate Yamal are within our fan base. They feel threatened by Yamal's football abilities and fame. They hide behind Rafinha and Dembele to downplay the kid. We all know that fan base. I don't know if there is within the fan base or not fan base, but like with anyone successful, there's always going to be, unfortunately, haters. That's just the nature of it. That just goes for anything. Football players, artists, actors, singers, anybody who attains success and fame, unfortunately, they always going to have haters because, there's people out there who are just jealous or simply not happy about their own failures or the fact that they never accomplished what they set out to do. So they like to hate. Now, that's, of course, different from criticizing someone based on what they do on the field, right? People sometimes, when I criticize a player, they're like, oh, you're being a hater. And it's like, no. Saying that a player played a bad match, that's not being a hater. That's just, being analytical and realizing, hey, he didn't have a good match. Sometimes Lamine doesn't have good matches. Sometimes Pedri doesn't have good matches. Sometimes Messi. A lot of times he didn't have good matches. Doesn't make you a hater. Just make you critical. Hate is more when you're like, trying to criticize every little thing, like, oh, look what he's wearing. Oh, look how he's acting. Oh, look at what he said. Oh, that's hate. That's when you legit is just looking for things to talk shit about because you have some kind of problem with the guy. But, it's unfortunate, but it comes with the territory. Balangwe says, hello, Mo Emmanuel from Cameroon. Happy being on the podcast. You should be hiding the Barcelona logo to avoid copyright. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the suggestion. Hopefully this will not get flagged. Kenneth says, hi, Mo. I hope Barca don't have too much players injured. Thank you for your information. So far, the only one who's been back with an injury has been Frankie, which, of course, is not ideal. But it is a silver lining given 14 players have reported to their national teams. And for only one of them to come back injured, that's actually good news. Now, of course, Gavi and Balde are injured, but that was not because of the international break. So, again, not happy about Frankie's injury, but it is kind of like, I guess, a positive or a silver lining that only one was injured. Edward says, sup, Mo, do you know if it was possible, as some have reported, that Barca could have built a 30K seat shipping container temporary stadium like the Qatari built for the World Cup and used that? I don't know if that was that's possible. I mean, what would be the point of that? Where would you build it? I mean, in order to build a container stadium, I mean, you talk about on the grounds of the Camp Nou. No, that would not be possible because you would have to demolish the entire stadium in order to put a container stadium. And then what's the point of the container stadium? I mean, is it just temporary? But that if it's temporary, you're gonna have to demolish the container stadium in order to make way to build the Camp Nou. If we're not talking about the Camp Nou grounds, then that would mean renting land and building the actual container stadium with all the access points and figure out transportation and no, it would be an incredibly expensive and pain in the ass endeavor. So no, I don't think it would make any sense to do that. Leo Ford says Tenas was a goalkeeper. Oh, Tenas. Arnau Tenas. I don't know why. It's just that did not click. Arnau Tenas. I haven't been following him in second division. Is it second division? Where did he go? He went to second division, right? Yeah, Arnau Tenas went to, was it Granada? Is that where he went? But yeah, Arnau Tenas. I don't know why it just didn't click when I read the name Tenas. I hope both Arnau and Jakubishvili can get the minutes that they need, develop, grow, and then they can come back and Barcelona can decide, Kochen, Tenas, and Jakubishvili, who's the best one out of the three to be the third goalkeeper, and then maybe the other two can be sold and make some good money, and then we would have our three goalkeepers, right? Juan Garcia, Szczesny, or whoever's gonna be second, Szczesny, Ter Stegen, someone, and then the third could be either Kochen, Tenas, or Arnau or Jakubishvili, even though it's looking like it's gonna be Kochen. The club have full faith in Diego Kochen, so we'll see. Anyways, let's see. Wait, how do I? There we go. All right, let's get back to the news because, of course, we have to talk about the FIFA international break because, as you know, I've been covering the FIFA international break, not the entire FIFA break, but Barcelona players and how they are performing with their national squads. Is starting, of course, with Spain, because today Spain, Lamine Yamal, Spain, Pedri, Spain, absolutely humiliated Arda Güler's Turkey, beating them 0-6 at home in what was an absolute symphony, the way the Spanish team played, and watching them, not just because watching them win the Euros, watching how they made it to the final of the Nations League, but Luis de la Fuente made horrible substitutions. Watching them now through the qualifiers and then watching them today against Turkey, it's clear as day that Spain is one of the favorite teams to win the 2026 World Cup because today was an absolute show. I mean, the way Spain played, every line, every player showed up, the cohesion of this team, the way they have fun, the way they make their plays look absolute effortless. It's like they're just playing in their neighborhood against their own friends on the street. I mean, it's an absolute joy to watch the Spanish team. Reminds me a lot of the Barca DNA, the way they play, the way they press high up, the way they combine together, even the way they would come out with the ball clean when Turkey would press them in their own third. Like Turkey would also try to apply the high press, and the way Spain would be able to come off that pressure or escape that press from Turkey with so ease and elegance. The passes, I mean, it was an absolute show to watch the Spanish national team. All 6 goals were marvelous, starting with Pedri's goal, who gets the ball on the outside of the box, goes to his right, fakes a defender, and then just an absolute banger. Pedri's getting really good about putting those balls in the net from a distance. Lamine Yamal, 2 assists. Pedri, 2 goals and assists. I mean, it was just an absolute symphony of goals. And again, Spain is a clear favorite to win the 2026 World Cup. Whether they win it or not, of course, that's a whole nother story. But they definitely have what it takes to be a main competitor for that trophy. Now, Arda Güler, I thought it was hilarious because, for the longest time, Madridistas have been telling us, oh, Arda Guler is better than Lamine. And then today, Lamine absolutely cooked Turkey. Meanwhile, Arda Guler was nowhere to be seen. The only highlight of Arda Guler during this match was him pushing Lamine Yamal. And that's what Madridistas are celebrating. They're like, look, Arda Guler putting Lamine in his place. Oh, look. I'm like, seriously? Lamine just cooked Turkey. Did whatever the hell he wanted. The only thing that was missing was his goals. He tried, but the goalkeeper, Turkey's goalkeeper, was the only one who showed up and actually blocked a couple of his shots. Again, he had 2 assists, was dribbling Turkish players left and right, was just having an he was just absolute carnage. He's just doing whatever the hell he wanted. But somehow, some way, Madridistas want to tell us that Arda Güler is better. I mean, that just denotes the absolute desperation, the impotence of Madridistas right now, because they had to go through Lionel Messi for 15 years. For 15 years, they had to suffer at the hands of Lionel Messi, just absolutely cooking them left and right. He finally leaves, and they're like, yes, finally. And there comes Lamine Yamal, ready to cook them for another 15 years. And they're going through so much trauma, so much PTSD of being like demolished by Messi for so many years. And now they have to go through it again with Lamine, that they're so desperate to cling on to something, to just find someone and say, hey, look, this guy is actually better than Lamine. They told us Arda Güler is better. A bench warmer is better than Lamine Yamal, someone who starts with Barca and Spain in every competition. Then they try to tell us, Mastantuono is better than Lamine Yamal. The guy who just has played 5 minutes, all of a sudden is better than Lamine Yamal. Then, they did the whole Asensio's better than Cubarsí. Where the hell is Asensio? Anyone heard of him? I don't know. I haven't seen him. Now they're telling us Huijsen is better than Cubarsí. I mean, these people are just desperate. Again, they're reliving their trauma of seeing Pep Guardiola's Barca, Luis Enrique's Barca, Tito Villanova's Barca just demolish their team time and time again. And when they thought it was all over, when they saw Valverde's Barca and Koeman's Barca and Xavi's Barca, they're like, oh, finally, it's over. There comes Flick, there comes Lamine, there comes Pedri, there comes Cubarsí, just to make them relive the nightmare that lasted for them 15 years. So these people are just absolutely desperate. And then today, well, a reminder that I'm sorry. You can compare whoever the hell you want on your team to Lamine, but right now, nobody can touch Lamine. Nobody can touch Pedri. I mean, they try to tell us that Birmingham is better than Pedri. Are you kidding me? Have you seen Pedri today? Pedri was an absolute masterclass, and honestly, he deserves to be in the talks for the Ballon d'Or, because today, just like every single match with Barca this season and last season, he did whatever the hell he wanted in that midfield. I mean, Pedri is magical, absolutely magical. But anyways, I don't want to keep talking about Spain and Turkey because there's more to talk about. Of course, as far as the minutes, as you know, I've been covering how many minutes each player has played. Lamine Yamal, 73 minutes. I'm glad he got subbed out before, like last time it was the 80-something minute. I'm glad he got subbed out a little bit earlier, but Luis de la Fuente, what the fuck are we doing here? Did Lamine truly need to play 73 minutes when the match was already over at halftime? I mean, Lamine could have easily been subbed out at the 60th minute. Why wait that long? I don't understand it, but I guess the silver lining is that he didn't play the full match. I was actually surprised to see him in a starting lineup after that back discomfort that he had, but I guess we'll take what we get. Pedri, 68 minutes. Again, happy that he didn't finish the whole match. But did we really need to have Pedri play until the 68th minute? I mean, again, the match was over at pretty much halftime. Ferran Torres, 46 minutes. He didn't play the first match, so that's good. Not a lot of minutes for Ferran in the winter break. Okay, not good for him because, of course, he's going to want to play every single minute, but good for Barca because at least Ferran will not be tired. Fermin Lopez, 22 minutes. He didn't play the first match, so again, good. Fermin Lopez will not come back tired. Cubarsí and Olmo, both 0 minutes. Olmo did play 90 minutes the first match. So we're good on Olmo there. That's good because he's injury prone. Cubarsí, 0 minutes both matches. Again, not good for him because I'm sure he wanted to play, but good for us because Cubarsí will come back well rested. And well, now Spain is done. So even Lamine and Pedri, who played a lot, you're going to have a full week until Valencia's match. So, enough time for them to recover. More news because Poland, Robert Lewandowski's Poland beat Finland 3-1 with Lewandowski scoring a goal for Poland. He played 68 minutes. Not bad. He played 60-something the first match as well. Again, he'll have Poland is done now, so he'll have a full week to recover. And I was kind of glad to see Lewandowski get in 60 minutes in the first match, 60 minutes here because he just came back from injury, so he needs to get into competitive rhythm. So hopefully these two matches with Poland will help him get back into competitive rhythm. That way, when La Liga resumes, Lewandowski will be ready. And then one team that I forgot to talk about because I forgot, oh, hey, we have an English player, is England. Because England, not today, but yesterday, defeated Andorra 2-0 in a pretty good display for Rashford. Not an excellent display, not a like, oh my God, what is Rashford doing? He's amazing. But good, much better than previous displays. And in fact, the English press are already talking about Rashford, talking about how they're seeing a different version of him, that he looks more motivated, he looks more sharp. And I think that has to do with, just mentally speaking, he's just in a better place now. And I don't mean that he's dead. I mean that, all the toxicity that was going on in Manchester United, I think that was probably affecting him, all around, even with the English team. And now that he's at Barca, a team that he really fought to get to, I think that has helped them. And that's why the English press have noticed, a difference with Rashford against Andorra with the English team versus the previous Rashfords in previous English team matches. Now, hopefully Rashford will be able, to finally hit the stride and then, start performing for Barcelona. But it's good to see that at least the English media are noticing a difference, which means that, Rashford hopefully will soon reach that, his stride. He played 68 minutes. I'm actually happy with that because, again, he needs to get into competitive rhythm. So hopefully those minutes will help them. And then as far as the remaining matches, because as I said, Spain and Poland are both done. I didn't cover Netherlands because, of course, Frankie is back in Barcelona. But we do have Greece versus Denmark. So Andreas Christensen will play tomorrow or we'll see if he plays. But Christensen's Denmark will play against Greece tomorrow. Then they're done. He'll go back to Barcelona. There's still Jules Koundé's France against Iceland. Coutinho's Brazil versus Bolivia. Araujo's Uruguay versus Chile. And then Rashford's England against Serbia. All those 4 matches on Tuesday. And then the FIFA international break will be officially over for all Barcelona players. All right, let's get back to the comment section. And then we are going to talk about Gavi and the medical exam that awaits him tomorrow. Let's see. Where did I leave off? I don't remember. Right here. Shamar says, it's Pedri, Spain, Mo, not Yamal, but kudos to our players. Also, Mo, what are your top 10 favorites for the World Cup in order from highest to lowest? 10. Oof, that's a lot. Let's see. Ooh, it's hard to arrange the first maybe 2 because I don't even say, I can't even choose 10. I can maybe choose 5. I mean, Spain, Argentina, England, even though, they're going to choke. We know that. But, you have to put them as top candidate. Brazil, we'll see. I still want to see a little more from Ancelotti's Brazil. But so far, what we saw against, who did they play? Is it Chile, 3-0? I liked what I saw. But we still have to wait a little more. But, of course, you always have to include Brazil. Oh, how can I forget? Colombia. I actually think Colombia has a shot. I don't know if to win the whole thing, but I think they have a shot of making it far. I think that Colombian squad, top notch. They have a great, great squad. Who else? Let me think. What other countries are there? I'm trying to think. I'm like blanking. My geography just went. So South America, Brazil and Colombia. Europe, we have, and Argentina. Europe, we have Spain, England, and I think that would be my top 5. France, duh. France with Dembélé and Doué and Mbappé. I think France is up there too. And I don't think Germany. Germany's not convincing me right now. Italy, forget about it. Netherlands never really a contender. I think they're a team that you want to watch, but it's not really like, ooh, Netherlands taking it this year. I don't think I've ever felt that, even when they made it to the final against Spain in 2010. So I think that's about it. That's the teams I would choose. That would be Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, and Spain, England, and France. So I guess 6. But I'm curious to hear you guys' teams for the World Cup. So let me know down below in a chat section or in a comment section if you're watching this when it ends. Goji says, now I see why Xavi was so eager to get Mikel Merino and he got Oriol Romeo. Actually, Xavi was not keen on Mikel. Xavi really wanted Subimendi. Like that was his guy. Like it was number one guy was Subimendi. Mikel was kind of discussed as a backup option, but Xavi wanted Subimendi. It was like Subimendi. That's who I want. That's what I want. Bring me Subimendi. Thank God they didn't bring him Subimendi because he was gonna cost like 60 mil. And I mean, what is Subimendi doing right now? I don't know. But it was not Merino. It was Subimendi. That was his guy. Let's see. Hamad Jagne says now he plays in La Liga, I think, Sevilla, Arnau. No, where is he playing, Arnau? I thought he was in... Wait. Oh, shit. Why am I confusing... I was confusing Arnau Tenas with... What's the guy, the Barca Atletic goalkeeper who left on loan? Not Jakubishvili, the other one, the starter. God, I'm blanking on his name. That's who I was confusing Arnau with. Arnau Tenas was at PSG, and now, yeah, he's at Villarreal. I don't know. I think Arnau was kind of like one of those players who also was a little bit impatient. He didn't want to compete with Iñaki. And then he ended up leaving, and Iñaki Peña stayed. But I feel like it probably would have ended up being the same thing because look what happened with Iñaki, right? He ended up leaving. But no, I was confusing Arnau Tenas with, what's his name, the goalkeeper who just left on loan? Astralaga. That's who I was confusing Tenas with. Okay, Astralaga. Astralaga's on loan. Jakubishvili's on loan. And then the two of them will be competing with Diego Cochen to be Barcelona's third goalkeeper. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, Arnau Tenas. Yes, Tenas, who left to PSG, now to be a Real. What do I think about that? I don't really care. I mean, he wasn't even a first-team goalkeeper who left, and then he left again to somewhere else. But yeah. Let's see. Edward says, I regularly visit the construction site, and though I think it will be a stretch for the Valencia match, they might just hit the 2 match days after that. Yeah, I really think I don't think the Valencia match is gonna happen, or unless like barring some miracle. I mean, it's next Sunday. Like I just don't see the stadium being ready in a week, but who knows? Maybe they're doing something we don't know. But maybe afterwards, yeah. But the Valencia match is definitely a stretch. Curtis says, let's not forget Ferran. He scored also. Thank you. I totally forgot about that. I guess I was just so in awe with Pedri's performance and Lamine. Even Mikel Merino's goals were absolutely insane. That I forgot about Ferran, which was an assist by Lamine. It was all 3 Barca players. It starts with Pedri. Pedri's driving the ball. He passes it to Lamine. Lamine looks like he's going to go in. So he kind of like fakes the defenders, which leaves his right side wide open for Ferran to make the run. And then he gives the pass to Ferran, who just shoots it in. And voila, the 3 Barca players making that goal happen. And Java the Hat says, do you think Spain are favorites for the World Cup or Argentina? I still feel Argentina will win. I think Spain is a tad over Argentina right now because Argentina... Hey, stop it. Sorry, my dog has his allergies again and he won't stop itching and then he gets like these, his skin irritated. But Argentina never really had, like, individually speaking, player versus player comparison. They weren't really that a team with like high caliber players. And I know that might sound crazy because they have Messi and Julian Alvarez and Lautaro, but like the rest of the team, their midfield, their defense, even their goalkeeper, they were mostly Europa League players, right? Most of them played for clubs in Europa League that played Europa League. So like when you compare player versus player with other teams, Argentina never really had that flash. It wasn't a team that was full of stars, like for example, Brazil or France. But like even if you compare France, the final, right, the two the French and the Argentinian team, position by position, the French players were, most of them, Champions League players, like played for clubs that were Champions League. Argentina, most of them were Europa League clubs. So quality-wise, 1v1, Argentina wasn't really a squad that had like all this flash, all these high-caliber stars, of course, for the exception of Messi and Julian Alvarez and, their attack, and Di Maria. But what made them win was the fact that they were such a close group and they played as a team. And of course, playing as a team is always going to be better than individual talent. We've seen that a million times in football. Now, here we come with Spain. Spain, on the other hand, do have higher caliber players, flashier players, and they also have that cohesiveness. So they have that, maybe not as close-knit as Argentina, but they play like a team, as a team like Argentina. But they're a step above because they, besides playing as a team, they also have the stars. So I think that's why it's Spain for me is just a tad over Argentina. Also, some of the players who won the World Cup with Argentina have already retired, like Di Maria. We don't know if Messi's going to be there. And the other ones are going to be older now, where Spain has much younger legs. So you have Spain, a younger team that plays as a team that's full of stars, versus Argentina, who not necessarily have too many stars, but they're older. Sure, they play as a unit, but they're not as flashy. I don't know. That's my impression. That's why I think I have Spain a little bit over Argentina. But it would be cool if Messi plays and they end up winning another World Cup. I'm all for it. But I feel like Spain is just a little bit above. Mike Valencia says, you know what's funnier? CBS Sports Golazo compared Vitinha to Pedri and said Vitinha is better. I mean, don't get me wrong. Vitinha had one hell of a season. I'm not going to knock him. But I think right now Pedri in the midfield is absolutely untouchable. Texas Royale says, what does that have to do with anything, man? It's all about the team difference here. Spain's whole squad plays in Europe, while half the players on this team are in their own league. Are you talking about Turkey? I think you're talking about Turkey. And what does that have to do with anything? What does what have to do with anything? I wish people would just put a little bit more, like specify what they're talking about. It's kind of like when people are like, oh, he, she, who. It's like, wait, who's he? Who's she? Like, can we get a little bit more context? But anyways. Curtis says, Mo, I don't know if it's only me, but the De La Fuente was not paying any attention to Huijsen until Real Madrid signed him. It seems like they have to put a Madrid player in because Barca has a few. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just, it does carry some weight when a player moves to a bigger club, just because now, you know that player is going to be at a higher level, competitively speaking. Because moving to a bigger club not only signals that you have the talent and the skills and the performance to be at a bigger club, but at that bigger club, you're also getting prepared better, if that makes sense. Because at a bigger club, they're going to have better coaches, better conditioning coaches, better fitness coaches, better trainers, better nutritionists, better dietitians, better blah, 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 blah. So you're going to be not only does that signify being at a bigger club that you have what it takes to be at a bigger club, but you're also going to be more prepared. That's why, like, for example, when you see Barcelona play against like mid to lower table teams, by the 60th, 70th minute, those teams who are like parking the bus and defending with everything they got, all of a sudden they're exhausted. And yet you see the Barca players are still going and going and going and going. And not because the other team, they're just lazy, but they're just, when you're at a bigger club, you just get prepared better. Also, when you're an athlete who can compete with a bigger club, naturally speaking, you have a bigger capacity to continue going and going and going. While the players at the smaller clubs, not so much. They're going to get tired faster. So yeah, it does matter when a player moves to a bigger club. Coaches are more likely to to what's called to call him up. Texas Royale giving us a little bit more context. What's Arda supposed to do on his own? Plus, before Mac, Arda made a statement saying he and Lamine are on different levels and that he's really talented. I don't know why you're butthurt about the whole Arda Guler. I'm not talking about. I don't have anything against them. I'm talking about Madridistas who want to compare Arda Guler to Lamine. That's all. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings with the Arda Guler statements, but I have nothing against the guy. I'm talking about the idiotic Madridistas who want to tell us that somehow Arda Guler is better than Lamine, which obviously is not the case. All right, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Gavi. Because, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow will be a crucial day for Gavi, who was seen today at the Catalunya MotoGP, which is like Formula One, but for motorcycles. And it was in Catalonia. And there he was with the legendary, our forever captain, Carles Puyol. Now, as you know, Gavi started feeling some discomfort in his knee, the same knee that he suffered that very serious injury last year where he tore his ACL, damaged his meniscus, had to undergo surgery, was out for almost a year. And during training, he started feeling some discomfort. This is before the FIFA international break. He had to end training early. He didn't train the following day. He missed the Rayo Vallecano match. He had to withdraw from the Spanish national team, so he didn't participate in the international break. And then, of course, it's expected that he will miss the match against Valencia because he's still feeling discomfort. Now, when he first started feeling the discomfort, of course, he underwent medical exams. They examined his knee, and they saw that the ACL was intact. The ligament is totally fine. It hasn't re-ruptured. It hasn't been damaged. It's fine. But the player still has pain in his knee. So tomorrow, Monday, September 8th, Gavi will undergo more medical exams in order to see what is going on, what's causing the discomfort. If the ligament that has been torn and repaired is totally fine, why is there still pain? Now, based on tomorrow's medical results, the club will either, one, continue conservative treatment, and hopefully that will cure it, and Gavi will be free from discomfort and be able to play, or depending on the results, they might consider an arthroscopy. Now, arthroscopy surgery is not as serious as, having to repair the torn meniscus. This will be more of an arthroscopy to clean up the area. This is when they poke holes. One hole goes in the camera. That's why it's called arthroscopy. It's arthroscopic. And then they put in the tools and they clean out the area to relieve the pain, to relieve the discomfort. Now, of course, this surgery is not as serious as repairing a torn ACL, but it would, of course, mean a prolonged absence from the field. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they look in and they decide that, conservative treatment should be enough. Now, of course, the exam is tomorrow, so I will be here to cover the results of the exam, and I will be here to tell you what's going to happen with Gavi, which, again, hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's, just something that needs to heal on its own with some conservative treatment. Now, speaking of knee injuries, I came across this article, and I was like, I had no idea. But Umtiti apparently could be retiring in a few days. Now, as you know, Umtiti was loaned to Lecce. It was like a free loan where Barcelona were paying his whole salary, kind of like to try to get the player some minutes, some exposure, so he can end up going somewhere else. It worked. It worked great because Umtiti ended up leaving to Lille. So Barcelona were finally able to get rid of Umtiti, someone who was on the bench for years, just earning an incredibly high salary without playing because he was constantly injured. So that stunt worked. And apparently, which I had no idea because, of course, I stopped following Umtiti once he moved to Lille. He's not a Barca player anymore. Apparently, he's had more surgeries. He had surgeries last year in 2024, and he hasn't played since January of 2024. So he's been out for a year, a little over a year and a half. So, of course, being out for that long, Lille did not renew him. So on June 30th, Umtiti's contract expired with Lille. He has been without a club this whole summer. And you might know this, maybe not, The free agent market closes after the regular summer transfer market. So if you're a player without a club, you have a little more time to join a club after the summer transfer market closes. So Umtiti has until September 10th, that's Wednesday, to find a club. If he doesn't, obviously that would mean he would spend the first half of the season without a club and he would have to wait until the winter. But they're saying that if Umtiti cannot find a club by September 10th, he will retire from football, which, it's an absolute shame. He's only 31 years old. And to think that Umtiti was, one of the best center backs in the world back then. Unfortunately, he hurt his knee. Barcelona wanted him to get the surgery, but getting the surgery would have meant him missing the World Cup. He decided to, choose the World Cup, not get a surgery, go to the World Cup. Ended up winning it, which great. You go into history, but at what cost? Well, his career, right? Because after that, Umtiti was never the same. He was constantly injured, and now it looks like his career is going to be over prematurely because, again, he's only 31, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That's still early, right? So, really sad to see one of the best center backs end his career this way. But, one of the best center backs back in the day. But I guess the question I kind of want to pose to you guys, do you think it was worth it? Because on one hand, choosing not to get the surgery and going to the World Cup did ruin his career. But on the other hand, he won the ultimate prize, which is the World Cup. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you think that was worth it? Was it worth it to ruin his career over a World Cup? Or would it have been better to have a long career but no World Cup? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about in the segment is this interesting article that I came across. But Memphis Depay today became the highest scorer in the history of the Netherlands national team. I did not know that Depay was, up there. But he has 51 goals, beating out Van Persie with 50 goals, Huntelaar with 42, Kluivert, the former Barcelona player, with 40, and then Bergkamp with 37. So the top goal scorer in the history of Netherlands, Memphis Depay with 51 goals. By the way, that seems like a pretty low number to me, or am I tripping? Because I feel like usually people with highest goal total for the national teams is usually around like high 60s, maybe low 70s. 51 seems a little bit low, but congratulations to Memphis Depay, who's now the top scorer in the history of the Netherlands. All right, let's get back to the comment section and do a few more comments, and then we're going to talk about Roony Bardghji. Speaking of attackers, let's see. Java the Hut says, have you heard of the reports that Barca want to send Rashford back to Man U? Yeah, those are absolutely fake. There's no truth to those reports. In fact, I think the reporter who first published it already retracted his article. I guess it was a slow day in the news, and he was like, fuck it, I'm just going to make something up. Lamine Yamal just agreed to join Real Madrid. Sometimes people get bored, I guess. Jorge Cerda says, Pedri is the ice cream, Yamal is the sprinkle on top. Yeah, to me, honestly, Pedri is the most important player on the Barcelona squad. Obviously, Lamine Yamal is the most talented, but to me, Pedri is the most important player. What he does in the midfield, both offensively and defensively, it's absolutely crucial to the team's success. I think he is the most important player, and it's just an absolute joy to watch him. Absolute joy to watch him. Leo Ford says, what's your thoughts on the news that club wants to renew Christensen? So they want to reach out to him. They want to talk to him. There's still no final decision or anything. Deco wants to sit down and kind of see, all right, where are we at? Do we want to renew, not renew? For how long? How much do you want? Kind of they want to sit down and just see where the posture of each party, right? As far as would I renew him? Here's the thing with Christensen. I like Christensen a lot. I think he is a great defender, especially under this scheme of play. My only concern with Christensen is he's 29 and he's injury prone. Now, 29 is still young, don't get me wrong. You're still in your prime. But I bring that up because if you do want to renew him, I wouldn't go and give him a 4 or 5 year contract, right? I would consider a short renewal, like maybe 2 years, 3 tops, right? But then again, you have to consider the injury because he's very injury prone. Would I renew him? I think I would. I would do 1 year with an option to extend for 1 more or 2 more. Because ideally, you want to wait this season to see how he performs. Because last season we didn't really get to see him perform under Flick that much. He only, played a few matches here and there because he spent most of the season injury. So ideally, you want to wait the whole season to see how he performs, and B, whether he can stay healthy. And based on that, you can renew him. But here's the kicker. You cannot wait a whole season to see how he performs because at the end of the season, his contract is done, right? So you want to renew him. So I would renew him for 1 season and wait to see how he does. And then if he can stay healthy, if he can continue performing, and then have that contract with an option to extend it for another based on his performance and based on his ability to stay healthy. So yeah, that it's not ideal what's going on with Christensen because, there's no time. There's no time to be like, all right, well, let's see how you do. Or maybe we can. Maybe we can wait the first half of the season, wait until winter transfer market. Well, actually, you don't need the market to renew him, but maybe be like, all right, we're going to wait until March and see how you do. And if you can stay healthy and you can perform from here until March, then we'll renew you. Or if not, then I guess we'll just let you go. Let's see. Armando Gomez says, what about Portugal? As a contender? Maybe. They do have a good squad. I would add Portugal to that list. Yeah. I don't know about going all the way to the final, but definitely someone that can, go a little far. Maybe quarterfinals or semifinals. So yeah, I would add Portugal. Sibo says Spain, Argentina, France, Portugal, England, and Colombia. Okay, I like that. Let's see. And Sholilamini says Spain, Portugal, Argentina, England, Colombia. 6 underrated team that surprises everyone like Morocco. Okay, I like that too. Jorge says Argentina doesn't have the hunger they had in the past. Yeah, that's another point, on why I would have Spain above Argentina because, they already won it. I mean, do they want to win it again? Sure, but they're not going to be as hungry to win it again than, let's say, Spain, who they're all youngsters and, they want it. Brian says Morocco versus Spain final would be a painful watch for Hustler Hard 304. Huh? Lamine Yamal? Oh, Mr. Hustle Hard 304. Okay, I get it. Yeah, because he's half Moroccan. True. But, he did choose Spain, so I don't know. Mahmoud says, I guess we'll see when Argentina faces Spain for the Finalissima. Yeah, that would be a cool match. It would be just cooler if Messi was a little younger so we can see, Messi versus Lamine. But at this point, he's 38, 39. It's not going to be the same. But anyways. All right, let's do the last bit of news. And then we are going to do more comments, and then we'll end the podcast. Remember, tomorrow we still have the regularly scheduled podcast. This is just to make up for Friday where I had to cancel it. All right, let's talk about Roony Bardghji because he just gave an interview. By the way, Roony, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, his registration has officially been approved by La Liga to play with the first team. Because, of course, he was registered with Barca Atletic. So he has a Barca Atletic license to play. But for him to be able to play with the first team, there's a special process that you have to do. Kind of like, look, this guy's my reserve player, but I also want him to play with the first team. So that process, all that paperwork was officially approved yesterday by La Liga. So now Roony Bardghji will be available to play against Valencia, which is great because he's going to provide much-needed rest and rotation for Lamine Yamal, right? Now we don't have to play Lamine Yamal 90 minutes of every single match of every single competition, right? Maybe we can bring in Roony here and there and then give Lamine some rest. But let's look at the statements of Roony Bardghji in his most recent interview, because here he started out by talking about Hansi Flick as a coach, and he said, I won't go into details, but he's a great coach and a fantastic person. He knows how to talk to his players. We've had a lot of interesting conversations, so I feel good. Now, when talking about his goal, he said the goal is to get a lot of playing time. It's a long season with a lot of matches and a lot of tournaments, so I'm sure I'll get a lot of playing time. So it's just a matter of showing up and, of course, being patient at the beginning. I like these statements. I mean, I'm sure he's going to get minutes too. I hope he gets minutes because, again, he's going to give Lamine Yamal much needed rest. But I like that he says it's going to take patience. And that's very, very important because, sometimes, a lot of times players end up ruining their careers because of lack of patience. Like Roony Bardghji. He was so impatient and didn't want to wait. He left to Chelsea and then, look what has happened to his career. Not getting any minutes with Chelsea. They loaned him out to Sunderland. Now they bring him back. I mean, absolute mess. Ilaix Moriba, another example. History is filled with examples of players who simply were not patient enough. But Roony Bardghji understanding that I'm sure I'll get minutes, but I have to be patient because it's going to take some time. And then he's saying, not everyone who's playing now are playing right away. It takes a bit of time, but then I'll get into the game and show what I can do. This is also very important because a lot of people think, Lamine and Kouarsi, that's the rule, that anybody could just jump from Juvenil or Barca Atletic to first team and then immediately become a starter and play every minute. That's not the case. Those guys are the exception, not the rule. The rule is that most players takes them a long time to get used to the first team and to start getting minutes. And Roony understands that as well. I've already been asked a question. He was asked about who's the player that's impressed him the most. And he said, and I said, Pedri. I think you also see it on TV. And when you see it in person, it's even better. Not surprised whatsoever by this statement because to me, again, Pedri, the most important player on the squad, just absolutely magical. And then Roony saying, it's a fantastic group. It's like a family, something I haven't felt before at other teams. Very important. Locker room cohesion, very, very important. And then finally, Roony saying, at first, there was a lot of interaction with Rashford. He was asked about, who's the player he talked to the most because we were new. I played against him before, and we lived in the same hotel. We lived next door to each other in the hotel, so it was natural for us to get close. He's nice, very calm and relaxed. He doesn't talk much. So those are the statements by Roony Bardghji. Again, giving praise to Hansi Flick, saying he wants to get minutes, but of course he understands that he has to be patient, that it's going to take some time, and saying that Pedri is the player that impressed him the most, and Rashford is the guy who kind of like he got along with the most at the beginning because the two of them arrived together. They both were new. All right, that's all the news for this podcast. Let's do some comments, then we'll end it. No more news videos for tonight. Sundays, they're always slow days for news, but of course tomorrow we'll get the podcast and maybe even news videos. Junior says, so Emiliano Martinez, Romero, Otamendi, Enzo, McAllister, Lautaro are not quality. Not what I said. Eli George says, it's so crazy to me that Nico Williams and Cucurella form with the Spanish team is so different than their form with the club. They are beasts with Spain, and damn, Pedri is so effing good, man. Yeah, I agree. Cucurella with Spain is absolute insanity. I mean, not to say that he's bad. Junior will be like, oh, Mo said Cucurella is the worst. But with Spain, he's definitely on the next level. And Nico Williams, man, also much better with Spain, even though he didn't really do anything today. Plus, he got injured. But yeah. John says, Eli says that that just shows they are being underutilized by their managers. Also, Cucurella isn't that terrible for Chelsea. No, he's not terrible for Chelsea, but he's definitely better with Spain. Jorge says, no wonder Gavi plays with the heart of a lion. He is with the original lion. Glad he is with great company. Amen to that. Man, I do miss the days when we had Carlos Puyol. Jorge Cerda says, taking the Barca bias out, I think it was worth it doing everything for your country and didn't mind much since Barto gave him that fat contract. True. I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough. On one hand, hey, you get glory. World Cup, I mean, that is the ultimate prize in football. But on the other hand, I mean, since 2018, Umtiti's just been gone, so. But anyways, let's see. Ace says, Portugal versus Mexico final. One day, my friend, one day. Just not in 2026. Ace Lionel says, just play him like crazy this whole season. Again, people, please specify. I'm not a mind reader when you say him or her or he or she. Who are we talking about? Edward says, I've heard players say that if you get a medal without really playing, you feel a little dissatisfied, like you didn't really participate, just got a participation medal. I'm sure that's the case. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how, if you were on the bench, you're like, did I really win this? Let's see, what else? Let me scroll up, see if other comments that I might have missed. Manny says Ander Astralaga. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know why I was confusing Astralaga with Arnau Tenas. Let's see. What else? Let's see. Ahmad says, bro, watch the third goal from Poland. Freaking Lewa need to be tested. And Ace clarifying that he saw about Christensen, play him like crazy this whole season. Well, the problem is if you do, he can get re-injured, but I wouldn't mind seeing Christensen and Cubarsí as our center back pairing because I think it just works better than the Cubarsí Araujo. Let's see. Herjan says, hope Olmo could have gotten some minutes. His performance are actually worrying. I'm okay with Olmo not getting that many minutes during this break, only because he's injury prone, and I would have hated to see him get injured again. So I don't mind Olmo not getting minutes during this FIFA international break. And then let's see. Let's do one more comment, and then we'll end this. Let me see. What else did I not read? Let's see. I think I've covered it all, unless I'm missing something. Let's do this. Oh, Yomi Dada, joining late, but better late than never. Says live on a Sunday. You shocked me, but I love it. Yeah, the only reason I decided to do it is because Friday I didn't do the podcast. So I said, you know what? I owe these wonderful people a podcast. So let me do it today. And this is why I did the podcast today. And then, of course, tomorrow, you regularly scheduled podcasts on Mondays. And with that, that's a good note to end this because it's late. I need to go have dinner, shower, get my stuff ready because tomorrow is back to work, back to reality. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your likes, your comments, and subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And if you want to let me know your thoughts, your opinions about everything we discussed today, drop a comment down below. No more videos for tonight, so I'll see you guys in tomorrow's podcast. And as always, now and forever, Visca Barça.